Sure. We were conducting an investigation of the carding industry on Long Island. We began with, as the indictments allege, control of the private sanitation industry association by members of the Lucchese crime family. What is alleged in the indictments is that that control was obtained through threats of fear on the carders, that if they did not comply with territorial allocations and the giving of money to the organized crime families that controlled them, they would be subject to fear of personal injury to property, and economic harm. We also alleged in the indictment that through control of Local 813 of the Teamsters Union, the industry association and the Lucchese family was able to control the activities of the carders. As a result of that, money was taken from the Carders Association in cash, split evenly between the Lucchese family and the Gambino family, originally beginning with fairly small amounts and rising to levels of $50,000 each per quarter, until, in the words of Sal Avellino Jr., who delivered the money, the envelopes got so heavy he could not even carry them. We allege as part of the indictment in the conspiracy count that there is a commission that exists in New York made up of the heads of the 5 New York crime families, that 2 of those families are the Lucchese family and the Gambino family, and the bosses of those families are respectively Anthony Tony Ducks Corallo and Paul Castellano. They sit on the commission along with the heads of the 3 other families for dispute resolution purposes and in order to enhance the profit of the businesses, both legal and illegal, of the crime families within New York.
Who is the principal defendant in your case? Who would you say?
Well, there are a series of defendants. In the major indictment, the boss of the Lucchese family, Anthony Tony Ducks Corallo, the underboss, Salvatore Tom Santoro, and a soldier in that family, Salvatore Avellino Jr., who is also the chauffeur for the boss, Tony Ducks Corallo.
Can you explain how you made the case? What was the actual operation? How you got your information to return?
Well, we used a wide variety of investigative...
Could you start that over again, please?
Sure can. I'm sorry I interrupted you. We used a wide variety of investigative techniques, including electronic surveillance. One aspect was a car bug, which was put in the Jaguar belonging to Sal Avellino Jr., which he used to chauffeur Tony Ducks Corallo, and in which number of conversations relating to our investigation were intercepted.
I've read newspaper accounts that as much as 1,000 hours of conversations were picked up. Is that correct?
Well, in the car, it would be closer to 75.
Can you give us any indication of what kinds of things were discussed, what kinds of information you picked up on this electronic surveillance?
No, I mean, obviously I'm bound by the 4 corners of the indictment and can only discuss it insofar as made public within the indictments.
Does the indictment suggest a regular meeting by these members of this commission?
Well, it suggests the existence of the commission on which sits the 5 New York family heads for the purpose of resolving disputes, and obviously the implication is whenever a dispute arises, the commission need meet.
Does the indictment touch on anything besides the carding industry in Long Island? Does it involve anything about construction or about Kennedy Airport or about the garment industry or any other labor unions, any other mob control or mob influence in any other industry in the metropolitan area?
Now, the series of indictments that we have returned to date relate solely to the carding industry on Long Island and connected and ancillary criminal activities like bribery of union officials and public officials. There are, of course, other investigations that are continuing, and we have a second grand jury in Suffolk County ready to hear those aspects of the case. In addition, New York State, unlike the federal government and some other states, does not have a racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations, or a RICO statute. As a result, we are bound by the conspiracy statute, and we've gone in this area about as far as we can go. As a result, the federal government, which does have a RICO statute and is able to do more sophisticated types of legal activities using enhanced versions of conspiracy, in effect, has received from us all of the tapes that we have and the transcripts for the uses they seem deem proper.
I know there are implicit things in your comments about what this means. There have been a series of indictments, a series of successful prosecutions against major. You want to wipe off or something?
I'm going to come out like
Throw
Nixon.
you a handkerchief or something too. There have been a series of successful prosecutions, and there are even more indictments hanging over the heads of a number of very significant organized crime figures, or alleged organized crime figures. What has happened on the law enforcement side? What has happened on the organized crime side?
Well, I think, as a practical matter, law enforcement for the first time can be proud of what it's accomplished in recent years. There have been a number of indictments throughout the country on federal and state levels relating to the indictments of bosses of organized crime families, upper echelon members, and in some cases entire families. And I think for the first time in a long time, there has been really a chance of doing severe damage to traditional organized crime as we know it. At the same time, there have been sociological changes going on within the organized crime families. We're in now the second and third generation of organized crime in the United States. Traditional organized crime. The people who now are members of organized crime don't have the kinds of discipline, respect, honor that those who came before them had. There's a breakdown in discipline within the families. It's more difficult to recruit people to take the places of those who are indicted and convicted and given substantial jail and prison sentences. And as a result, I think that given the indictments that have been coming down, given the changes within the families, and given law enforcement's focus on it, if this keeps up, we can see a marked change in the way we view organized crime and their power in the next several years.
There have been a lot of boasts in the past about the federal government, various state governments breaking the mafia, cleaning up organized crime. I mean, recently William French Smith and Rudolph Giuliani have made the same kind of statements. Do you think these are now credible? I mean, these kinds of statements?
I think it's possible now, given what has been done in the last several years and what can be done in the next several years, to have a substantial impact on traditional organized crime. I think what it requires is a continuation of what's being done, a commitment of resources to it, and attention paid in the next several years to it. I think if that is done, we can have a tremendous effect on it.
How can you characterize your case, the Coro case, this indictment, in the context of an effort to break the 5 organized crime families in the metropolitan area, the New York metropolitan area? How significant is it?
Well, for the first time in a long time, it is the state, on a state level, the New York State Organized Crime Task Force, in this particular case, has returned indictments against the leadership, the upper echelons of a major organized crime family in the metropolitan area. But beyond that, the indictment itself and the charges made by the grand jury indicate the existence of a commission that is a separate entity made up of the heads of the 5 families, which meet on a regular basis to resolve disputes among the families. That is the first time that this has been done in a legal document, and I think establishes the existence of the commission and establishes a method for proceeding against them.
Can you go any further in explaining the significance of the existence of this commission?
I'm not sure that I can. In what way? I mean, what would you want me to say?
To explain its legal significance, and that if you can prove there is such a commission, you'd rather not?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you could.
What?
I'm just seeing if I can rephrase the last part again so that it could be more useful to you if you want to pick up on that last thing. The indictment that was returned in the Lucchese case, the major indictment, alleges the existence of a commission, an entity made up of the heads of the 5 New York families, and when the heads of those families were not available, the underbosses of those families. And that is the first time that such an entity, as an entity, has been the subject of a formal accusation or formal accusation or what? What's the word?
Is there a way
assertion.
Is there a way of tightening that, somehow?
The indictment alleges the existence of a commission, which is an entity made up of the heads of the 5 New York families, and when they are not available, they're underbosses. Such an entity has never been the subject of a formal accusation in an indictment or a grand jury report.
Is that a major legal breakthrough?
I think it can be.
What else haven't we covered that you can talk about?
I think that's it.
We did the tap in the Jaguar.